Sometimes the Steam page can seem overwhelming. There are thousands and thousands of games. How am I supposed to find a good one, let alone one that actually fits my budget? Well, thankfully, I've got a solution for you. Today, we're recommending 2 games that will cost you absolutely nothing. Welcome to Free Game Friday. My pick for this Free Game Friday is an indie game called Rental. This is a short experience, probably about half an hour in length, and is the first and so far only creation from a developer called Lonely House. You play as Umi, who is a young girl portrayed as a cute little white rabbit. You and your family have traveled all this way to visit a rental property. When you walk into that property, we learn from said renter that something is strange about this property. Something that can only be set right after the completion of a supernatural ritual. After the renter pops out of existence, the player is tasked with procuring the materials needed to complete the ritual. This is not a game with an emphasis on story, but atmosphere. You play Rental for the eerie experience that is walking through this dimly lit and unfamiliar cabin when occasionally something kind of eerie will pop out from the shadows. It's also not very challenging, unless you are as inept as I was at navigating the mirror maze. Just keep in mind that with fixed camera angles, certain objects may not appear visible to the player. So if you're struggling to find an object, try to approach all the fourth walls. Once you have all the objects, you complete the ritual and exit the house. Now, the first time I played this game, it ended with Umi outside the house warning her mother not to walk inside. But the second time, Umi came to inside the van before they had even made it to the property. So I wasn't aware that there were multiple endings, and I very well may have missed other secrets. So if you want to see if there's more to this game than I've already described, you should really try it out for yourself.
You're in an office. You have a sledgehammer. Begin. In Perfect Vermin, you are tasked with rooting out the mimics hiding in an office building. They're slowly infesting the place, and it's up to you and your sledgehammer to root them out before they take over the entire office. In each of the game's 7-ish levels, you are tasked with tracking down a certain number of these mimics and returning to the elevator, sometimes at your own pace, but usually racing against the clock. But beneath the already bizarre surface, something even stranger is happening. Perfect Vermin opens with a prompt on screen telling us how to move and how to interact with objects. It just so happens that our only means of interaction is smashing things with a massive sledgehammer. At first, it isn't really clear what we're meant to accomplish. pretty much everything in the office we can smash, and it isn't until we smash certain objects that the game's goal becomes clear. With a violent explosion of blood and guts, we slay our first mimic, and the counter in the top left of the screen ticks down. The mimics aren't exactly hidden well, so it doesn't take long to find all 5 on this floor of the office. Upon killing the final mimic, we're suddenly taken to a newsroom, with our point of view being relegated to a screen set up behind an assumed anchorman. He instructs us to return to the elevator so that we can try again. After entering and re-exiting the elevator, the man tells us, do it again, but better, and sets a 90-second timer. The mimics haven't moved from their previous location, so those with a good memory should have no issue blasting through this office floor in no time at all. As we hunt down the mimics, the anchorman will egg us on and warn us that the mimics can spread. When we finish the hunt, he'll let us know that our job is not yet done. We're sent to a new floor and told to do our job again. There are another 5 mimics on this floor, and we're given 90 seconds again to track them all down. After finding them all, we're shown our anchorman once more, but he's looking much worse, as he laments how long it took us to complete our job. Here is where I'll say that if any part of this game seems interesting to you, stop watching this part of the video and go play the game. It's free, like I said, free game Friday, it's relatively short, and the strange plot happenings are better experienced blind. But if you've already played the game, or if you don't mind spoilers, stick around for the rest of the plot summary and my theories on what exactly is happening here. We're next introduced to a level where the geometry has, quote, become uncooperative. What this means in practice is that the floor is now the ceiling and the ceiling is now the floor. This would complicate things a bit, but a careful eye can spot that this is the first level again, just now upside down. After completing that level, we're met with the anchorman holding his head in his hands. It's pretty unnerving. This next level gets really, really weird, and even more unnerving than the weird anchorman. He's now slumped over his desk, blood pouring from his mouth and pooled behind him. The strange purple growths we've been seeing slowly appear on him have begun consuming his body. It almost looks like he's just dead. Even stranger is that now we're controlling 2 versions of our character, each in a different room, the first and second levels respectively. Here, we're tasked with eliminating all 5 mimics in each room while controlling both characters simultaneously. Even though the layout of each floor is roughly the same, the mimic locations differ. This level is definitely a bit more difficult than any of the other ones, but with some perseverance, it's doable. After completing that level, we're dropped into an even more bizarre, liminal space of non-Euclidean geometry. The anchorman looks worse, if that's even possible. He's laying face down on the desk, with growths covering his body and pulsating red eyes dotted all over him. As we attempt to hunt down and kill the now 20 mimics in this level, the seemingly lifeless anchorman begins talking to us and gives us this bizarre and unsettling speech. At the end of the speech, we're dropped into a tunnel of flesh, whether we kill all 20 mimics or not, which from what I can tell isn't possible, and we must now destroy fatty-looking yellow buildups to progress past a series of walls. At the end of the flesh tunnel is an elevator door, but before we can reach it, we're dropped into a doctor's office. Some of you may already have a good idea where this is going, but for the rest of you, I'll play the sequence from the ending in its full.
we have it or not. And it's it up or all it or
Nej, det så vi feel det feel det feel nej, nej, så
we feel yeah, so not it or all it. And if we so it or all it, so that yeah. Or all it, all fat it up not it. So push all fun we hear.
så vi så nej, vi så over we are so that's it.
And night so that all it, all not night it yeah.
We so here.
So, what exactly is going on? There are some truths that I think are absolute, and then there are some things that I think we can look at in a few different ways. One of the first and most obvious things we can draw from the game is its cancer allegory, very specifically, the cancer of the Anchorman we've spoken throughout the game, or I suppose, who's spoken to us. The Mimics are like cancerous cells. They copy existing elements of the environment and hide in plain sight, making it hard to find and destroy them. They also spread rapidly and can quickly overtake a floor and cause extreme issues if left unchecked. Thus, we the player act like medication and chemo, but failing to keep the cancer at bay. Throughout the office and in the elevator, we see numerous no smoking signs, and the Anchorman is seen smoking to excess every time we see him. It's clear that the game as a whole is a metaphor for cancer, but a few lines at the end seem to muddy the waters on exactly what is happening in the office building, and how much of the game is actually real. It's entirely plausible that nothing that we actually see in the office is real, and that's just the way the Anchorman internally views his losing fight with cancer, inspired by the events he desperately wants to report about. That's a perfectly acceptable way to view the game. But, here's my weird, cracked conspiracy theory. We're following two characters, both succumbing to their illnesses in different ways, and feeding off each other in an unhealthy codependency. The game is still a metaphor for our Anchorman's battle with cancer, that's very clear. But I believe that the game takes place directly after the doctor's appointment, not before it. With little time left, the Anchorman decides to leave his mark on the world by egging on the very sick individual terrorizing an office building. I have a few reasons behind this theory, and while it may seem rather far-fetched, I only ask that you stay with me until the end. Okay, the man in the office building is suffering from fatal familial insomnia. It's likely you've never heard of this condition. It's extremely rare, but it is abbreviated as FFI, the same abbreviation that appears behind the Anchorman as he instructs the player. FFI has many symptoms, but broadly it's broken down into 4 stages. First, it's characterized by worsening insomnia, resulting in panic attacks, paranoia, and phobia. This stage can last for about 4 months. Stage 2 starts with hallucinations and panic attacks becoming more noticeable, continuing for about 5 or so months. Stage 3 is a complete inability to sleep, followed by a rapid loss of weight. This lasts for about 3 months. And stage 4 is full dementia, during which the person becomes unresponsive or mute over the course of 6 months. It is the final stage of the disease, and afterwards, death is the only thing that follows. It would appear that the player character is in the throes of stage 2, and is attacking the office that was presumably his place of work. I have a few reasons for believing this. Firstly, the game takes place in the dead of night, and while some people certainly work nights, it ties in with an inability to sleep. Another piece of evidence is the stage where we exist on 2 floors at once. A major symptom of FFI is double vision associated with paranoid hallucinations. FFI also causes issues with fine motor skills, which would likely cause issues manipulating complicated objects, thus the need to bust through every door with a sledgehammer. The Anchorman, as he succumbs rapidly to the cancer, exacerbated by his extreme smoking habit and disregard for his health, eggs on and feeds the paranoid delusions of a man suffering from FFI in order to lead some sort of lasting effect on the world. His influence could even be why the player characters see the people they're killing as mimics. The cancer metaphor could be influenced by the Anchorman himself. As the killer begins to evolve and fall deeper into his delusions, the Anchorman succumbs to his cancer, both of them trapped in a doomed cycle of death. I do think there's kind of an Occam's razor aspect to this game, though, where the first and simplest explanation for the game's plot is likely much more accurate, but I think theorizing is fun, and it's a testament to the quality of this game that it made me go down such a weird rabbit hole where I ended up Googling FFI just to see if I could find any connections, and then discovered this whole random, terrible disease. The game is very short. I had a playtime of just over half an hour listed, and I think I replayed a few parts to get some footage, so maybe more like 15 minutes on this one, but it's still worth playing. The controls are simple, tight, and the graphics are kind of a fun, blocky sort of aesthetic. It's very popular right now, but I think it works well for the game. And the story, it's just an amazing experience. I've pretty much no complaints other than wishing the game was longer, and I do feel bad that I spoiled it for you since the story's a huge thing, but definitely check it out if you're a fan of any of these weird, short, surreal horror games that we've been getting lately.